I'm Corbett Wall with USDA Livestock and Grain Market News, here with your weekly feeder and stocker cattle market summary for the week ending September the 14th, where yearlings once again just keep kind of steadily rising, and as their numbers keep declining, and pretty much across the nation your yearling sales for this week were firm to $4 higher, with the highest prices or the biggest gains, I should say, seen right there in Kansas, right in that southern plains feedlot area. That's where they've made their most gains. And calves are starting, the demand on calves is starting to shift just a little bit. Right through your plains and the Midwest areas, just about like the yearlings, they just keep kind of coming up as we're looking for pretty good prospects for winter wheat grazing and just overall good demand for all classes of feeder cattle. And in those main central areas, they sold from steady to $5 higher. But when you get into the deep south and your mid-Atlantic places where they have some more crossbred type calves, especially those calves on order in your auction market, selling one at a time, going to your shippers that mostly go out west, the demand on those cattle has started to wane just a little bit, and the prices this week were weak to $4 lower. Now, you get up in the northern parts of that, you know, like Kentucky and Missouri, those cattle are still selling on a higher trend, because more of those cattle have the hair and the predominantly English breeding that the northern plains buyers are looking for. But down in the deep south and over in the mid-Atlantic areas where you get more colored up, crossed up cattle that don't have quite as much hair and would not accustom themselves to the cold weather as well, have started to see a little bit of back off in demand there. But your calf run is predominantly getting more calves in the sale barns right now. A higher percentage of the offerings are being calves and new crop calves, and a lot of those unweaned. Your calf run's going to be lighter this year. They're just coming in right off the cow for the most part. Your producers were just lucky to be able to keep the cows and the calves that they had after they made it through the drought in most major places. And they don't have anything to wean those calves on. They're not real excited about paying the prices that these feed costs are going to be to run these calves for a month or 2 months and to get them straightened out. It's just so much easier for them to pull them right off the cow and coming in. A lot of the males are still bulls, and a lot of times they haven't had any shots, maybe just the spring shots that they had, you know, when they hit the ground. But you know, if a cow-calf producer had the ability to wean his calves, he's probably going to go ahead and background those calves himself after he's gotten them kind of straightened up. He'll keep them until December or maybe early next year, whenever they're going to be, you know, more like a yearling, and sell at some of these prices that we're forecasting these yearlings to bring, you know, late this year and early next year. So the calf run's going to be real spread out. We've already seen a lot of your lighter calves sell, and then there's going to be some later calves that are going to be kept, and just you're not going to have your huge big runs of calves like we normally have in the fall. But we got declining numbers of every class of beef cattle that we have, as far as cows, fed cattle, feeders, light calves, everything. And it's just a good time to own cattle if you were able to keep a hold of them. And the fall pasture is starting to look fairly good. We did have some rains come up through Oklahoma and Kansas and places that put out a lot of winter wheat. Your feed costs are just horrible, and guys looking for anything to put weight on them that doesn't cost a fortune. And we're starting to see some of those big prices again. Up in Valentine, Nebraska, you got farmer feeders up in that area, probably got some damaged corn or a lot of silage, and just a great market there on the Thursday. Had 350 head of steers, weighed from 7 to 850 pounds, the top quality kind. Averaged 791 pounds at 154.02. So that is a huge price that we haven't seen for months and months and months. But we're starting to see the weather cool down a lot. That big front moved all the way across the country this week, and I mean, from Texas all the way you know, to the Canadian border, just saw temperatures just drop immediately, and caused a lot of guys just like me to reach for that felt hat and you know, a lot of guys have different thoughts on that. Basically, when you change hats, you don't wear a straw hat with a coat, and you don't wear a felt hat with a short sleeve shirt, and once you switch, you stay with it until the next season comes. So now that we got that cleared up, your fat cattle market was $2 to $3 higher. The live basis 126 to 128. Dress was $3 to $4 higher, from 195 to 196. Your cow market is gaining ground big time right now. Your beef cow slaughter has been 20% down over last year, the last several weeks here, although they've been selling off a lot of dairy cows and keeping that propped up. But some of these high dressing cows getting up close to 90 now. But you know, every major cattle production area in the United States has had a huge drought in just the last couple of years, and most all your producers have either sold out or tightened their belt as tight as they can get it, or they got way more country than they need for what cows they have. This week's regional market weighted averages: up in the north central states, 800 to 900 pound steer cost you $141.90 compared to $140.11 last week and $129.72 a year ago. Down the south central states, 500 to 600 pound steer, those calves I told you are selling good, $154.77 compared to $151.68 last week and $138.41 a year ago. And down in the southeast, those 400 to 500 pound steers, crossbreds, $155.44 compared to $158.83 last week and $126.01 a year ago. That wraps up your feeder summary for this week. Check out our website for more market information at marketnews.usda.gov. And from the Regional Market News Office in St. Joe, Missouri, we'll talk to you next week.